Hello everyone, Professor Ron with onehourprofessor.com, and today we are going to talk about what information analytics can provide. And in doing so, what we will do is we will touch on 5 major points of analytics. We will talk about how analytics measures information related to your audience. Analytics measures information about how you acquire visitors. Analytics measures information about the behavior of users once they are on your website. And then it also measures conversion information on your website. And lastly, it has a real-time component so that you can see information as it's actually happening. So starting off, let's go ahead here and let's talk about how analytics measures your audience overall and the people that actually come to your website. So analytics as a whole, it is going to be able to talk to or to show you what the demographics are of the people that visit your website. And it does this basically by looking at the individual's behavior on their browser that they have, and it measures that information across a number of data sets. And when it does that, it looks at that overall footprint, I guess you could say, of that individual or that specific computer, and it can tell you the demographics of that particular person. Now, this gets a little bit skewed, something to keep in mind. It does get a little bit skewed if someone is, for instance, using a family computer, because there may be 3 or 4 people visiting various websites, and it's difficult for analytics to decide what the demographic actually is. But if it's one person who really uses the computer, which is more often than not, then it is pretty accurate. Next, in terms of the audience, it will actually also, analytics can tell you what the geographic location of individuals are that come to your website. So the way it does this is it tracks the IP address that people actually log into your website from, or people actually visit your website from. And when it does this, then it's able to pinpoint that IP address to the specific geographic area. And then lastly, in terms of your audience, analytics can also tell you how many people are using mobile devices and how many people aren't, which is important because mobile devices continue to grow. So knowing how many people actually come to your website via a mobile device and making sure that you have a website that is mobile friendly is extremely important, and it'll tell you that as well. Next, moving on to acquisition. So analytics will also tell you acquisition information, how you are acquiring people from the internet and how they're actually arriving on your website. Analytics will talk about the referrers, so websites that are referring traffic to you by whatever means, it'll talk about that. It also measures if you're doing paid search, so you're using Google AdWords, and you launch some type of campaign. Within the acquisition portion of analytics, you can see that information. In addition to that, analytics will also tell you search engine optimization wise how many people are coming to your website via the different search engines out there, Google, Bing, Yahoo. It will show you, hey, this is how many people are coming from these particular areas. And then lastly, with acquisition, it actually breaks down information in social as well. So if you're wondering how many people are coming to you from social networks, this portion of analytics will tell you that as well. Next is the behavior. And this is important to understand. So when someone actually gets to your website and you know how you already know about the audience and how they've been acquired, when they get there, you kind of want to understand what the behavior is when they're on your website. In other words, what are the paths that they're doing? What are the things that they're doing? So behavior, this portion of analytics will actually measure the site content, the website content that these people are looking at, and it will report that back to you so that you can see, oh, these particular URLs are getting the most visits and the longest average page length and that information. So behavior, it'll break down that. It'll also tell you, analytics can break down some of the technical aspects of things too, such as if you're trying to understand site speed, and if you're trying to understand the different browsers that people are using when they're on your website. All this stuff is kind of more developer centric, but there's definitely some important things there too for someone who's an internet marketer, because you can actually see a behavior flow report, which will say, they came in from the home, or they came into the home page, they went to the about page, they went to this blog post, and then they left. And then another data set will say that they went to the blog page, they went to the home page, and then they left. So you can actually tell behavior flow as well and understand what people are doing. And then we will also talk about conversions here. I think conversions are probably the most important part of analytics and where they really provide value to everybody that's involved with them. So conversions, when analytics provides you with this data, the conversions themselves, they're set up by you. And there's different ways to set up conversions. The easiest way is just a unique URL, but analytics will actually track the conversions to that URL. In other words, every time that somebody hits a particular URL, then analytics will track that as a conversion. So someone loads that page, it gets hit as a conversion. And conversions are really important because they really are involved into three things here. So first off, conversions, you can track goals. So conversions, when I say conversions, most people think of a conversion of, someone actually purchased something. But it doesn't necessarily have to be that. Or, another example, people may think, they signed up for an email list. And that's true. Those are all conversions into, whatever it is that you want. You get to define those conversions, but they also have goals which are important, which are able to track things that aren't really necessarily conversions but are also important. So in other words, someone watched a video or someone did something along those lines that doesn't necessarily mean a purchase, doesn't mean a sign up, but is still important. Next is that conversions, if you have an e-commerce site, extremely important. Analytics is really able to tie all of your SKUs, all of the products that you have on your website. If it's set up correctly, it can track all that information as conversions, see how many conversions you have on a daily basis, how many purchases there are, and track that as well. And then lastly, with conversions, another important thing is that you can actually track funnels, which is really important too. So funnels are essentially, let's say that you have a 3-step process to somebody signing up to get an ebook. Step 1 is watching a video on one URL. Step 2 is to download a PDF on the second URL. And then step 3 is to sign up for a course on the third URL. You can actually set all 3 of those up, step 1, step 2, step 3, and you can see in a funnel where people are dropping out of the funnel. So do they go, a lot of them go into step 1, how many go to step 2, how many of that go to step 3, and you can continue to refine that funnel to make it better as you go. The biggest thing with conversions and with analytics and how this helps, if you're tracking purchases or you have an e-commerce site, you can really measure your return on investment. So if you throw $100 in, how many conversions do you get? What's the value of those conversions? You define all that, and analytics can help you really understand how all that is happening on the back end of your website. And then lastly, they actually provide real-time analytics, which is pretty neat because at any given time you may release a email blast, or you may be featured in a news article that gets released, or if you run commercials, you can actually look at your analytics in real time and see how many people go to your website at that specific time.